Hello everyone, welcome back to Story Time. We are currently reading The Willigrews 2 by Terry Tarbox, and Terry is a local author who has very kindly said that we can read his stories. So thank you very much, Terry. And this book is illustrated by Terry's niece, and her name is Wendy. So we are now coming up to the last part of chapter 5 of this book, The Willigrews and the Mysterious Egg, co-written by Jack Wheatley. Oh, I'm so sorry, Jack. I do keep forgetting your name, but it is written here on the back of the book. So if you buy the book, you'll be able to see his name. So the purple blob thing on the computer who says he might zap people with his fungulator. Not too sure what's going on there, so get yourselves comfy. Sit down, snuggle up, and let's find out what happens next. I don't like the sound of that, said Dora nervously. Show us what you mean. The angry Norg from a tube on top of his head fired a warning shot above Dora's head. A long spurt of green, slimy stuff hit the wall behind them and immediately produced a large, gaping hole. Keep him busy somehow, said Longstint. I want to take a look at his computer-like thingy. Do you want to play games? Inquired Dora, trying desperately to sound defiant. Norg fired another salvo, but missed as Dora dashed about trying to avoid the deadly fungus. Yeah, never touched me, she shouted. Norg tried again, this time nearly hitting his target. Dora, in trying to keep moving, tripped and fell. Norg took careful aim and, with a triumphant smirk on his face, fired his fungulator. In the nick of time, Dora rolled sideways to safety. She was becoming tired and felt she couldn't keep this up for much longer when, to her relief, Norg stopped fungulating and went quiet. Whoopee! Cried Longstint. I think I've got it sorted. I have disconnected the programmerator from the flange grommet. Norg spoke very slowly, slurring his words. What have you done, you meddlesome green things? I'm feeling a bit dodgy now. Who will control the universe now? Oh well, such is life. The Willigrews looked intently at Norg and, to be honest, felt a bit sorry for him. He was starting to melt. Slowly at first, but then he was starting to disintegrate, his fungusy body running down the sides of the computer-like thingy. Then, when he'd almost melted completely, there was a small pop, and what was left exploded. Finally, as the last bits plopped over the computer-like thingy, he was gone, never more to carry out his evil fungal doings. Both the Willigrews were feeling very sad. They didn't like hurting creatures, let alone killing them. They walked away, shoulders drooping, to help Groombagger, when, suddenly, out of what seemed like nowhere, they heard a tiny, high-pitched voice saying pleadingly, Please don't leave me behind! Not now that I have escaped the smelly fungus! Dora and Longstint were amazed to see, sitting on the keyboard of the computer-like thingy, a Mardronian. Hello, creature. Oh, sorry. Hello, where did you come from, little round creature? Inquired Dora in a gentle voice. The Mardronian explained, a bit shakily, that his name was Griddlebucks. He had been captured by the fungus while walking in the fields one day and could not escape. You see, a fungus can't talk or think without a living creature inside it, Griddlebucks explained. It was using my voice and brain to carry out its evil deeds. Thank you so much for rescuing me. The Willigrews introduced themselves and went out to see how Groombagger was. When they reached him, he had regained consciousness, was glad to see his new friends, and was especially happy to see Griddlebucks again, whom it turned out had been missing for a very long time. But what of the Yippets? They were still not moving. Longstint had a look inside one, and it appeared to be dead. He suggested perhaps they only worked when the computer-like thingy was controlling them. However, as he walked past them, he accidentally kicked one of the cables and disconnected it. Immediately, the Yippet came to life. The Willigrews stood back in fear, but need not have worried, as it said, We owe you a great debt of gratitude, you lovely little green fluffers. You have set us free from the mighty Norg, and now we can be friends with the lovely Mardronians again." Once disconnected, the Yippets followed the Willigrews back. The motley band made their way back to the dome, following Groombagger through the long grass, when, to Longstint's surprise and delight, the invisible Mardronian started to reappear. It wasn't long before he was back in full view. Of course, he was overjoyed and bounced up and down and squeaked in the usual Mardronian way. When they got back, everyone was waiting outside the dome to welcome the heroes back. The Mardronians were visible again and bouncing up and down excitedly. The Willigrews, of course, were doing their customary dance of hopping about on one leg and flicking their earlobes with their index fingers. The Yippets joined in by waving their two front legs in the air and making their "ooh-la" sound again, but this time in a happy melodic way. Now, I hear you ask, what became of the dangerous tortoises? Well, during the dancing and bouncing, a large tortoise appeared through the long grass. This worried both the Willigrews and the Mardronians, not to mention the Yippets. Sorry, I said I wouldn't mention that. The first tortoise approached the crowd of revellers and said, "We are sorry for all the nasty things that Norg made us do. We are now harmless, unless required to be otherwise. We have vowed to protect Byclips and all its inhabitants from danger, whatever it might be, from this day forward." Everybody cheered as all the other tortoises appeared through the long grass. Dora decided then to hand out the green and red wigs, and everyone tried them on, even the Yippets. Well, it seemed a shame, after bringing them all this way, not to use them. The returning group joined in, and a happy time was had by all. With all the problems sorted out, the next problem was how to get the Willigrews back home. Vectorn suggested that they use the same spaceship that they came in, but Grendax said he had a much better craft that they could use. When the Willigrews saw it, they were very impressed. This was no little cramped round thing, but a sleek, silver, state-of-the-art machine that the Mardronians explained would get them back safely in double-quick time. There were tears from all the tribes when, finally, the Willigrews climbed on board to make their journeys home. Longstint pressed the lift-off button, and with everyone waving, the spaceship shot skyward, leaving Byclips behind and heading home to Willigrue. At first, the journey was uneventful, although the crew were much more comfortable in this ship, it being much more spacious and having all the mod cons, like armchairs, very nice toilets, and excellent cooking facilities. Everyone was relaxing, some nodding off, when the old familiar crackling speaker sprung into life. "Danger up ahead," it barked. "Giant space amoeba up ahead. Avoid at all costs." Explaining, "Please wait." Silence, then another crackle, and the warning followed. "We are about to encounter a giant space amoeba, or, if you prefer, a cosmomoeba. Hooray! The good news is that it is contracted, which means it is only about 1/2 kilometre wide. Boo! The bad news is you still have to get around it. By the way, if it was extended, it could be more than 10 kilometres wide, which is interesting, so think yourselves lucky, but take immediate action to avoid it." "Oh no, what should we do?" asked Longstint as they hurtled towards the danger. "Oh, sorry," said Sydney. "How silly of me. I forgot to mention, if you like, you can turn on autopilot and the ship will do it all for you." Despite the danger, Crowfin was so pleased because the mechanical voice sounded like his old mate Sydney. "Hi, Sydney, old mate. How's it going with you?" asked Crowfin. Sydney replied, "Not too bad, Crowfin, old pal. Thanks for asking." Dora complained that Crowfin was passing the time of day with Sydney when they could be heading for disaster. "Sorry, just being friendly," was Crowfin's reply. Longstint scanned the control panel carefully and eventually found a button marked autopilot. "Only press if you want autopilot. If you do not want autopilot, do not press. If you want something other than autopilot, you will have to press a different button." Not surprisingly, Longstint pressed the button, and the spaceship immediately veered sharply to the left, which sent all the Willigrews rolling to one side. They ended up in an untidy heap on the floor. They soon got back, however, and gathered around a window, just in time to see the giant space amoeba as they passed by. "Wow," said Vectorn, "it looks like a giant jellyfish with a long tail. It is quite beautiful, really. I suppose, though, that many beautiful things are dangerous. The others agreed, then settled back to enjoy the rest of the flight. Sydney only sounded one more alarm on the way back to Willigrew. Large mass of objects heading our way. Could be meteorites. Big danger if big objects. Analysing as we speak. Please wait, warned Sydney. Another few moments of silence then. Very strange phenomenon. Appears to consist of flour, water and suet. Objects not in my memory bank. The Willigrews gathered round the window again and saw several quite large round objects approaching. Wait a minute, said Crowfin, smiling. I think they might be dumplings. What are dumplings doing in outer space? As he spoke, one of the dumplings hit the side of the ship with a loud plop, followed by a slurping sound as it slipped down the side. They are definitely dumplings, Dora confirmed, and I've got a theory. The others seemed to show some interest, so she continued. I think these are a group of Cosmo dumplings that are roaming the universe trying to find a beef stew or maybe a chicken casserole to join up with. I wouldn't mind betting that somewhere in space there is a giant casserole wandering around looking for dumplings. Nobody seemed convinced by Dora's theory, but didn't have time to discuss the subject as Sydney interrupted. Prepare for landing in precisely 7 minutes and 9 seconds. Please take all your belongings with you on leaving the ship. I hope you have enjoyed your trip on Sydney's airline and trust you will travel with us again in the near future. Thank you for listening and goodbye. The Willigrews became very excited as Willigrew came into view. They all cheered and were so glad to be home again. The landing was uneventful and finally our little band of green friends stepped out of the spaceship. A large crowd headed by Yill and Brongley, who had arranged a big party with funny hats and chickweed champagne, greeted them. At the party, Brongley made one of his customary speeches, which went quite a bit like this. My dear Willigrews, I think I speak for everyone when I say how grateful we are to the brave Willigrews who went to Byclips to save the Mardronians. They are all heroes and we welcome them home. Just one more thing. I think the first dance should be a bouncy one in honour of our new friends, the Mardronians. Now let us all enjoy the party. So we will leave the Willigrews dancing and singing, following another exciting, successful and very silly adventure. Well, I am glad that everyone is safe, that the Yippets and the Mardronians and the tortoises and everyone can live peacefully and that there isn't a big nasty thing controlling everybody. I wonder if that can be transferred into real life. Anyway, come back tomorrow when we will be reading another chapter from the Willigrews by Terry Tarbox. So I will see you then, 2 o'clock tomorrow. Bye-bye.